What I'm going to do today is I'm going to give our viewers a sneak preview of the annual magazine I do for the LTU College of Engineering called Innovation. And I've got a list of story topics that I'm working on for Innovation Magazine, and so I'm going to be talking about that a little bit today. I wanted to kick things off with part of the evolution of Lawrence Tech from a commuter school to a full-service residential college is an increasing emphasis on research here. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be the University of Michigan with $1 billion a year in research, but hey, hope springs eternal. I can tell you it's a lot more important here than it ever has been. And as our president that took office January 1st says, a great university doesn't just describe the knowledge of others, it creates new knowledge. And the way you do that is through research. And we are hiring faculty that is increasingly focused on getting research grants, both from industry partners and from government funding sources. A lot of the basic research in this country is funded by the government, the National Science Foundation, and other agencies. So I want to talk about some of those that we're working on. One of the biggest ones is actually from an outfit in Wisconsin called the Kern Family Foundation. And they are an engineering-focused foundation established by the family that invented Generac generators. And they are big on increasing entrepreneurship among engineers. And Lawrence Tech is leading a consortium of 6 universities that include some big ones like Georgia Tech on advancing the entrepreneurial mindset within undergraduate research. So what we're doing is Li-Ping Liu, who is one of our faculty members, is the principal investigator on this grant. It's a $734,000 grant. And what these institutions are going to do working together is increase the entrepreneurial emphasis in undergraduate research, where the undergrads won't just be researching various engineering topics. They will also be encouraged to think very seriously about how they can turn that research into new products, new businesses, and new jobs, which is, you know, a big part of engineers tend to focus only on solving the problem. They don't think in terms of establishing businesses. And so that's going to be a major focus of that grant. We also have a $575,000 grant from the Michigan Department of Transportation on a topic that we've talked about several times here on MITechNews.TV and the TechCast. It's Lawrence Tech's 20 plus years of research on using carbon fiber in bridge beams instead of steel rebar, because the carbon fiber does not rust and lasts a lot longer and is stronger pound for pound than steel. It is also more expensive up front, although that price differential is shrinking pretty much by the day. So we've got a continuing grant from the MDOT to continue the research of these materials in bridges. And that's basically a feather in the cap for our engineering dean, Nabil Grace, who's been working on this technology now for more than 20 years. There are 8 or 10 bridges around the state that have been built with these materials. If you're ever on 8 Mile Road just east of Telegraph, there's 2 bridges over a branch of the Roush River that use this material. And there's a couple going over I-94 this year. There's 2 new bridges being built this year on Cadillac Avenue and Burn Street in the city of Detroit with this material. And it's being increasingly used by Michigan and other states. The idea is it costs a little bit more up front, but the long-term maintenance is so much lower that it's worth it. And you wind up with bridges that last 100 years with minimal maintenance. We've also got an interesting grant here. I've got, you know, quite the list here. We've got a grant from the American Heart Association, a professor here named Jinjun Zia. He is working on testing artificial heart parts that now you have to essentially make 2 of them, and you test one until it breaks, thereby destroying it. And he has come up with a non-destructive way to test artificial heart tissues that are used in heart surgeries. That's pretty interesting, and got some money from the American Heart Association. We also have a very active professor here that joined us a few years ago by the name of Ahmed Al-Biadi. And he has established something here at Lawrence Tech called the Construction Safety Research Center. Basically, the impetus for this research is in 2019, which is the most recent year we have, 1,900 construction workers died on the job. A lot of them from falling or things falling on them. And Dr. Albiadi's opinion on this is that this isn't like lightning strikes. This isn't nature. This isn't something that we can't avoid. All of these accidents, most of these accidents and deaths and injuries, if you go back and looked at what caused them, there are commonalities there, and we can train workers not to do these things or to do certain other things differently. So we can cut the number of deaths and injuries on the job at construction sites. And he's basically got a grant from MIOSHA, the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration, on construction work zone training for highway construction sites. He's also got a very prestigious early career award from the Electrical Engineering Trade Association for reducing the number of accidents involving electrical contractors essentially zapping themselves with high voltage, and how do we avoid those kinds of problems. There's just a whole bunch of really interesting research going on here at Lawrence Tech, and it is definitely on the rise. Another thing we're launching, another program we're launching here at Lawrence Tech is the Transportation Institute. That is a professor here by the name of Nishanthra Bandera, who basically is all about the materials used in road building. He is a former official with the Michigan Department of Transportation that we brought here 6 or 8 years ago to work on road technology and road construction technology here on Lawrence Tech. He is currently teaching state-approved courses on evaluating construction materials for road beds. Now that sounds pretty boring, but it also means that the roads last a lot longer, which around here is very important. Nobody likes driving over potholes. And there's a lot of places in Michigan, like the Gateway Project around the new Gordie Howe Bridge and the Ambassador Bridge, where that part of I-96 and I-75 through that intersection, the ground underneath it is essentially soup. It is very wet, very swampy. And they had to do a lot of things to it to make it suitable to build a road over it, or else the road was going to fall apart in very short order. Well, he has taken that into substantial research on road materials, and we're going to be training, the Transportation Institute is going to be training highway officials from around the country on improvements in construction materials, improvements in road building, and ways to make roads last longer. Another thing I wanted to talk about is that we've got a new lab here at Lawrence Tech. It's the Industry 4.0 lab. I know we've talked about Industry 4.0 a lot on the program, right?
Oh.
Well, essentially, we're creating a baby factory and a baby robotics line that we can train our students on some of these technologies. Essentially, what Industry 4.0 boils down to is that everything in a factory, everything on the production line, is going to be hooked up to the internet, and you're going to be able to look at what happens on the production line, how parts are put together, how processes work, so that if there's a problem later, you can go back and analyze what went wrong, and you can also analyze what makes things most efficient in terms of production. Part of that is going to be a new robotics lab. Part of it is going to be multiple labs in Lawrence Tech's academic buildings connected by high-speed data lines. There'll be robotics, there'll be industrial engineering, there'll be embedded software.
3D,
all of this
3D
stuff
printing and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. All that stuff is going to be up and running shortly, and all connected by a super high-speed data line. Included is a conveyor system with robots that's sort of like a miniature factory. I also wanted to mention that we've got several new programs here going at Lawrence Tech. We've talked about some of these before, but we're adding a program in physician assistant studies. We're also adding a master's degree program in cardiovascular perfusion. What is that, you may ask? Well, those are the people who operate the heart-lung machines that they hook you up to keep you alive during heart transplants, lung transplants, and other, major surgeries, including a whole lot of people who are very sick with COVID. So we're going to be turning out more graduates in cardiovascular perfusion. We've also got, new programs in data science, data analysis. Those are coming out of our College of Business and Information Technology, where we've got IT experts going. We've also got a new laboratory for architectural engineering that is basically all about the science of building better buildings, building more sustainable buildings, building more energy efficient buildings with advanced materials. So that's basically what's going to be in, Innovation Magazine, which is going to come out in April or thereabouts. But you heard it here first. We've also got some really interesting senior projects that I'll be writing about, and we'll have competition updates from all of our competition teams. We have student teams at Lawrence Tech building half-scale Indy race cars, electric half-scale Indy race cars, Baja off-road vehicles, super mileage cars that get 700 plus miles a gallon. And then we've also got fun competitions for the civil engineers, where they build a steel bridge and try to see how much weight they can put on it before it breaks. They also make a canoe out of concrete, which is kind of fun. You wouldn't think a concrete canoe would float, but it's all about displacement, of course. And these are very advanced blends of concrete that they
But
use
that was
to
an
make
old
the
joke about a concrete canoe, but I guess not, huh?
yeah.
And so,
Yeah, I think that goes with the screen door on a submarine or
yeah,
something like
right.
that. I'm not sure. But like I said, a lot of great things going on here at Lawrence Tech. And we're holding our own in the pandemic. Student count is actually up a bit this year, which is practically unheard of. The fall semester, at least, the state universities were down 6-7%, and the community colleges were unfortunately way down. But we're managing to hold our own here, and most of that growth is in undergraduates, the 18 to 22-year-old crowd, which is something a little bit different for Lawrence Tech, because this was always more of a night school for working people. And now it's more of a traditional college, although we still, love our night school students. Don't get me wrong about that, but it is now more of a school with dorms and sports and stuff like that for the traditional college crowd.
now that we've got all these parents listening, going, gosh, I want my kids to go to Lawrence Tech and learn all these great skills where they can come out and make a six-figure salary and move out of the basement. How does one reach out and find out about all these programs at LTU?
Well, I would also mention that payscale.com, the website, lists us in the top 11% of universities in the country for graduate salaries. So, the kids coming out of here make a good living. The way you learn more about it is to go to LTU.Edu and click on admissions. You can also click on academics, and you get information on our 4 colleges here. We've got arts and sciences, architecture and design, engineering, and then business and information technology. Most of our programs are in the STEAM world. That's science, technology, engineering, and then we add the A to make STEM STEAM, which stands for arts and architecture, and the M is mathematics. But it's LTU.Edu, and click on admissions. You'll learn more about how to get in here. Click on academics, and you'll learn more about our programs. We have about 100 majors.